Good afternoon, Warzone Sports Army. Mike on the mic here, and I told you guys yesterday in the AFC video that today we were going to be dropping the mid-season review for the NFC. And here we are. I'm going to be going back and looking at all of the Warzone Sports Network's predictions for every single team in the NFC and kind of see what we got right, what we got wrong, what direction teams are heading, what they should be doing, what their objectives should be for the rest of the season, and just chat about every single team in the NFC right now. Cannot wait to get into all the details, but please, first, before we start talking about all these NFC teams, take the 2 seconds to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications so you're alerted every time we go live or post a new video.
I gave you fair warning, beware. Smack him in the corner of the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. Smack him in the mouth. I gave you fair warning, beware. Smack him in the mouth.
All right, so to explain it really quick, the predicted box, the record in the predicted box is the Warzone Sports Network average. So before the season started, we asked every host and co-host within the Warzone Sports Network, work with the Warzone Sports Network, are friends with the Warzone Sports Network, to send in their predictions for every single team in the league. This all took place during the offseason and preseason. We averaged out all of those predictions to get the Warzone Sports Network average, as we call it. So this is an average of all the records that were sent in by 10 plus co-hosts and sports creators on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and within the Warzone Sports Network. So as a team, the predicted box was our predicted record. The current box, where you see the word current above the box, is the team's current record at the mid-season point, or roughly mid-season point. 8.5 weeks is now the mid-season point that we have 17 games. Guess it would be, 8.5. No, but there's 18 weeks, so that means week 9. We're heading into the mid-season week. But anyways, that's how all these are all laid out. I'm going to go through all of the teams and all of the divisions. Starting off here with the NFC North, we got the Green Bay Packers. We projected them to go 12-5. I think they're going to be better than that at this point. This was actually the team I had picked to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC at the beginning of the season, and they're still looking very strong despite some injuries and despite some bad timing COVID cases on the team. We'll see how they do this weekend against the Chiefs with the news of Aaron Rodgers being out. Now they got their own set of challenges to deal with there. But even if this team drops to 7-2 after losing Rodgers for a game, I think they're on track once Rodgers gets back to beat this 12-5 projection and definitely win the division, which all of us pretty much had the Packers winning the division, and 12-5 was the average, and none of the other teams are even close to a 12-5 record. We'll see what this team can do in the playoffs. They've obviously went to 3 straight NFC Championship games and have failed in all 3. I don't see much of a difference roster-wise on this team, but I do feel a little bit more confidence going into the later part of the season here from the Packers than in previous years, and a situation where I think they're a little bit more dominant than in previous years, whatever it might be, whether it's the attitude surrounding the team with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, or whether or not certain players have developed and made this team just a little bit better. But I just feel a little bit better about the Packers' chances of going to the Super Bowl than I even did before the season started, and they were my pick to come out of the NFC. Although the Rams and the Buccaneers look amazing as well, and I will admit that it is very much up in the air between those 3 teams for me, with the Cowboys having an outside shot as well. The Lions were predicted to go 4-13, and we don't even know if they're going to match that. They're currently sitting at 0-8. They have not won a game yet this season. They've shown some fight in certain situations, but this team is just outmatched with almost anyone they step on the field with so far this year. And it's very clear and it's very evident that this team needs to start and continue a rebuild. I should say continue, because they started the rebuild and they traded Matthew Stafford away. I'm not sure if Jared Goff is the guy of the future, the franchise quarterback. The offensive line is building nicely. DeAndre Swift looks very good. TJ Hawkinson looks very good. So they're starting to put an offense together. Maybe could use a wide receiver 1 to replace Kenny Golladay, who they lost last year. But as time goes on, I'm sure that they will make those acquisitions and make those moves and make that happen. Defensively, they need to completely rebuild the entire defense for the most part. But they're starting the building blocks of something on offense at least, and they need to continue that, and they're going to have a high draft pick next year. Minnesota Vikings, projection was 8-9. They're 3-4 right now. I think that they're on track to go around 8-9 this year. The Vikings are playing similar to the Patriots, and I was talking about it yesterday, how the Patriots' game plan seems to be to just stay in the game and then try and make more plays than you at the end of the game, even though on paper you probably outmatch us at almost every position in certain games. The Vikings are a little bit different, though. I think that they lean on their offense more than their defense, and their offense actually is better, or one of the better offenses in the league. But the moral of the story is that they stick in these games tough, and they just try and beat you out at the end of the game, and they can play any team in the league and keep it close and have a shot at beating them. But the downside of it is they are also playing down to teams, and they're also playing down to level of play like we saw with Cooper Rush in Dallas. The Vikings had no business that game even being close. They should have just taken care of business from the get-go. But we just seen this roller coaster up from the Vikings over the last couple of years, and I feel for Vikings fans because a lot of the same struggles that us Chargers fans deal with year in and year out. 8-9 looks like that's where they're going to be around. They're 3-4 right now, so they're technically on track to be around 7-10, 8-9 range. We will see how the rest of the season unfolds and how their schedule works out in their favor or against them. Chi-Town, Chicago's predicted record was 8-9, and again, I think we're going to be pretty close here. The Warzone's going to nail this one. They are around a 500 team again. They've had a couple of tough games. They just lost a close one to San Francisco. I think the Bears are probably going to win a couple more games this year. I might lower that projection to like 7 wins. Justin Fields looking a little bit promising, but very much a rookie and has a lot more learning and developing to do for us to really know what he's going to be in the long term. Definitely not going to be pulling out too many more victories this year. But I will say when they play bad teams, they should beat those bad teams. I think the Bears are closer to average than they are to the bottom of the league. So same thing with the Vikings. So I think that the Bears can definitely get a few more wins on the board than this 3 wins that they have right now, and possibly finish with 6, 7, 8 wins by the end of the year. The Packers are running away with this division, and who's surprised, really, right? Moving on to the Nfc South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were projected by the Warzone to go 14-3. It's looking like that's going to be true. Maybe they go 13-4, 14-3. I don't think they're going to win out. They probably will drop another game or two this season just because it's the nature of the beast. It's the NFL. You play the world's best every single weekend, and they kind of learned that against the Saints last weekend, that even if you sleep on Trevor Siemian and you sleep on a Saints team that has a very tenacious style of play and a very good defense, they can sneak up on you and beat you. And they have star players on the offensive side of the ball, and guys like Alvin Kamara as well, and the offensive line is very good. But anyways, Buccaneers are on track to hit this 14-win mark, in my opinion. If they win less than 13, I'll be absolutely shocked. They're dominating some of these games. They're in a bye week right now. Perfect time for a bye week after a loss, so that way you don't kind of take the bye week easy after a bunch of wins in a row. You got a loss to kind of kick you in the ass and give you some motivation to get through this bye week successfully and stay focused on what the goal is at hand. And for the Buccaneers, the goal is Super Bowl or bust every single year that they have Tom Brady. The New Orleans Saints have surprised me a little bit. The Warzone together had them going 7-10, and I will say me individually had them going 7-10, which is a little bit harsh on the Saints because the Saints are a 5-2 football team right now. Yes, they just lost their starting quarterback, and I expect them to be worse because of that. I mean, how are you going to be better from losing your starting quarterback? But even if they are a little bit worse, I think this team is still on track to win 9-10 games. And actually, I would be surprised if they lost out like this and fell to where they're winning less than 9 games in 2021, which is surprising to me because I expect them to take a huge step back with all the talent loss in Michael Thomas and Drew Brees leaving the team. But the defense has been solid. Like I said, the offensive line has been solid. Alvin Kamara gets better as the season goes on as long as he can stay healthy. And they're going to lean on 41. That's what they're going to do for the rest of the year with Jameis Winston now out. For the rest of the year, we'll see if it's Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian. I don't like either choice as far as the passing game goes, but expect the defense and the run game to still be there. I mean, that hasn't gone anywhere. Carolina Panthers, projected to go 7-10. They're 4-4 right now. I can see them going 7-10 still, honestly. I mean, I didn't believe in this team, and I don't believe in Sam Darnold, and I haven't believed in Sam Darnold since early on in his Jets career. I just don't feel like you can turn off the turnover bug, and we've seen that as of late especially. The Panthers play the Patriots this weekend. This is a good test for them. But I think we're going to see them finish 8-9, 9-8, maybe even 7-10. I don't think that they win 10 games, which is kind of shocking to know that this team started off 3-0 and they're not even going to win 10 games the rest of the way. Or I should say they're not even going to win 7 more games the rest of the way. But I don't think this team is going to win 10 games. Moving on to the Falcons, I think that they're going to win more than this 5-12 projection. I'm thinking this team actually may be a 7-10 or an 8-9 team. They aren't good. but they aren't awful. I mean, they're beating the bad teams in the league. That's where all their wins have come from. We'll see how they do in future weeks, but the Falcons are entering a rebuild right now, and once Matt Ryan's out of there, it's going to be a full-blown rebuild. Moving on to the NFC least, as we all like to joke and call it, and they're doing it again this year, right? Other than the Cowboys, obviously. Washington has that 6-11 tag on them, predicted by the Warzone average, and they're currently 2-5. So we're seeing them trend towards that 6-11. I personally had them at 6-11 also. I think I had the Giants at 8-9, but the Warzone averaged out at 7-10, and they're on track to go around 7-10 as well for the Giants. This team needs to kind of rip off the Band-Aid a little bit and start over, whether they do it with Joe Judge or without Joe Judge. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. I don't think Kenny Galladay was a very good signing, and we have not seen Saquon stay healthy for a long period of time yet. So a lot's going wrong for New York, and the defense, which was sturdy last year, isn't quite as sturdy. And even when you look at last year, the team went 6-10. This is why I keep trying to tell Washington Giants fans, yes, you guys were competing for the division last year, but you were both bad teams still. Do not pretend like you were good teams and come out this year and we're going to win 10 games. And I never believed for a second that either one of these teams were going to win 10 games. And you won't find a take of me praising either one of these teams going into the season. Because I was high on the Cowboys. And I was telling everyone the Cowboys are going to win 10 or more games. And sure enough, they're 6-1 right now. The projection was 8-9 to win the division at 8-9, which to me is crazy. But everyone was saying that this healthy Dallas Cowboys team was going to win like 7 games or something like that. And even back then, it triggered me a little bit, but I was able to keep my composure knowing what the Cowboys have on this roster. And here we are, 6-1, and they're playing very well this year. And they just won a game with Cooper Rush at quarterback to really bring the point home that the Cowboys are legit. Now, are they on the level of the Rams? And are they on the level of the Buccaneers? And are they on the level of the Green Bay Packers? I'm not sure yet. But if you move the Cowboys to the AFC, and I saw an AFC Championship Bills versus Cowboys game, I would say that that's going to be a very close game. It's just unfortunate that the NFC is so top-heavy and those teams are so loaded up above the Cowboys right now. And notice I'm not saying too much about the Cardinals because I'm still on the fence about them. Even though they are 7-1, I would probably pick the Cowboys right now if they played the Cardinals this weekend at full strength. But we shall see what happens when the playoffs do eventually come. The Warzone expected the Cowboys to win this division. I expected the Cowboys to win this division very easily, a lot easier than what the Warzone projected. By 4 games, I think was my projection for the Cowboys to win this division. And they're winning the division, so we got this one right. And then the Eagles, 5-12. I think they're going to be around that mark. I think they might be a little bit better than that. Maybe we see them win 6 or 7 games also. But the Giants, Eagles, and Washington all have a lot of work to do, and they need to figure out what's going on with the quarterback situation more than anything in the world right now. And the final, most exciting division in the NFC West. And the Warzone did have the Rams winning this division, but they had it very narrowly to the 49ers at 11-6. And the Rams are on track to beat this 12-5 projection. Everyone knew that they were going to be really good. It just came down to how good. Are they going to be good enough to dominate the division as well as the rest of the league scheduled games? That's tough because you're saying that they are on a different level if you're going to predict that. So that 12-5 prediction makes a little bit of sense, and it's a little bit low. I think they win 14 games, or they win 13 games in this season and only lose 1 or 2 more. But we shall see if they may even be able to reach 15 games, depending on how well Russell Wilson comes back from his injury and if the 49ers can keep playing well as they are going to meet up with the Rams again soon. So this division always super competitive. Going on to the Seahawks, who were projected to go 10-7. They're 3-5 right now, but I think they're going to win 9 or 10 games. Once Russ gets back out there, he can get on a little bit of a hot streak, hopefully, and get the Seattle team to squeak into the playoffs or just be right there on the bubble. I think this 10-7 projection is possible. And even if Russ played the last couple games, let's say they win 2 of the last 3 still, now we're talking about them being 5-3 instead of 3-5, and they're on track to be around 10-7 still. To the Cardinals, the projection was 8-9, and man, we missed on this one. I think the Cardinals are winning 12, 13 games the rest of the way, maybe even more than that. We'll see how how they respond to losing to Green Bay on Thursday night. 49ers 11-6. I think this team is going to win 9 games. And my hot take at the beginning of the season was 4 teams, all 4 of these teams making the playoffs. I think the 49ers are the one that has the least likely chance at this very moment with the situation, with the quarterback situation, where we don't know if it's going to be Jimmy G, it's going to be Trey Lance from week to week. It's looking like it's going to be Jimmy G now that he played a good game against Chicago. But previously he was playing awful in other games, so it's just a painful back and forth for these teams. So yeah, I don't think that they've reached this 11-win projection. If it was 10 wins, I'd say it's a little bit more realistic, but 8-9 wins is what I'm expecting from the 49ers for the rest of this season, and hopefully we get to see a little bit more Trey Lance out there on the field as he gets healthy. All right, that's going to do it for the NFC mid-season review. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notification bells. If you didn't like the video, still turn on notification bells and subscribe, because there's a bunch of other co-hosts that aren't me that aren't going to spew out whatever I said that you didn't like. Pick your poison, honestly. I probably said a bunch of things you don't like. I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, I'm Mike, and I'm on the mic. This is me saying, until next time.